poetry, we must remember, is not written for ornament. It is written to breathe, to cry out, to resist. It is literature born not from imagination alone, but from lived reality. What is Dalit literature? At its heart, Dalit literature is writing by Dalit authors about Dalit lives. It emerges from the experiences of caste-based oppression, experiences that were long silenced or ignored by and in mainstream Indian writing. But Dalit literature, let us remember, is not only about pain and suffering and victimization. It is also about assertion, protest, memory, and above all, I repeat, it is about hope. Its roots stretch far back into history. We see glimpses of it in the Bhakti tradition, in the songs of poets like Ravidas and Kabir, who questioned caste and spoke of equality in the language of the people. In the 20th century, which is quite recent, Dalit writing became a collective, powerful movement with genres like poetry, short stories, novels, autobiographies, and they all spoke with a raw honesty that was impossible to ignore. So, Dalit writing became both art and activism, words used to change society as much as to express it. To understand Dalit literature today, I think we must understand the history that shaped it. For centuries and centuries, Dalits were excluded from temples, from schools, from wells, from all kinds of knowledge. Literature in India was often written by the privileged for the privileged. The voices of the victims, of the oppressed, were always missing. But then things began to change in the 20th century. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar's writings and speeches became the foundation for much of Dalit writing. His call for equality and justice inspired generations of writers. His annihilation of caste is not just mere political theory, it is also literature, powerful and poetic in its force. In the 1960s and 70s, a new energy arrived in India. The Dalit Panther movement in Maharashtra, inspired by the Black Panthers in America, gave rise to bold, confrontational poetry. Poets like Namdev Dhasal and Daya Pawar wrote verses that were direct, angry, and uncompromising.
This was a turning point. Dalit poetry was no longer at the margins. It became central to conversations about literature and society in India. Since then, voices across regions, Bama in Tamil, Om Prakash Valmiki in Hindi, Sharan Kumar Limbale in Marathi, and many more have expanded the canvas of Dalit writing.
A question that we often ask is, what do these Dalit poems actually speak of? Well, to be honest, the themes are many, but there are certain threads that run across them all. Let's begin with the first one, oppression and pain. They speak of untouchability, poverty, exclusion, and the everyday experience of humiliation again and again. Let's look at a line from Namdev Dhasal where he says, "Release me from my infernal identity. Let me fall in love with these stars." Another recurring theme is protest and rebellion. These poems are not silent, they are not soft. They shout back, they question, they demand. For example, when Siddhalingaya says, bash them, kick them, skin these bastards alive. The third recurring theme in Dalit writing is their desire, their insistence on dignity and self-assertion. Poets reclaim what was denied to them, their history, their identity, their pride. And one of the best examples would be from the Tamil writer, novelist, short story writer Bama, who says, our people laughed and were cheerful. This is a community that was born to work. And then one can't move away from the resilience of the Dalits and the hope that they have. Dalit poetry does not always end in despair. It holds within it the dream of a just tomorrow. Om Prakash Valmiki says, then what is ours? The village, the city, the nation? Questions, but answers are obvious. It is these themes that make Dalit poetry today deeply human. A literature of suffering, certainly, but more importantly, a literature of strength.
Why should we read Dalit poetry today? Because caste has not disappeared. Its shadows remain in schools, in workplaces, in villages, and in cities. Dalit writing reminds us of those realities, making sure they are not forgotten or erased from memory. But it also matters because it is global. Dalit literature is now studied across the world, translated into English and many other languages. It stands alongside African American, indigenous, and other literatures of resistance.
Today, there are many young poets and performers who carry forward this legacy. On stage, in slam poetry sessions, on social media, and much more. The tradition is alive, urgent, and evolving. Let us remember, Dalit literature is not a closed chapter of history. It is an ever-growing, ongoing movement. Over the next month, that is the month of September, we will be sharing 4 powerful Dalit poems with you. Each one shines a light, throws light on a different aspect of this tradition. One on protest against injustice. One on the everyday struggles for dignity. One on resilience in the face of oppression. And one on hope, the dream of equality. We have to remember that these poems remind us that Dalit poetry is not just to be read quietly. It is to be heard, it is to be felt, and it is to be remembered. As we begin this journey, let us carry these words with us, not merely as literature, but as lived experience,